Welcome back to the Face Off Podcast. This is episode number 8. 2 months in now, episode number 8. This is called Character Development, and this focuses on the characters in the movie Face Off. Because what would a film, what would a story be, what would anything be without characters? We are human people, and we need characters. Have you ever seen a story? Have you ever seen a film or heard a story that didn't have characters in it? Have you ever seen a story or heard a film that didn't have some sort of character that was, it turned into, even if it was an animal or anything, it was given human characteristics. It was made humanish so it could become a character, so it could go through things, so we could relate to it, that sort of thing. I don't think there's ever been a movie like about a dish rag and it was just a dish rag's life. I'm sure there probably has been some experimental stuff. I don't remember anything. I don't remember nothing. There was a Andy Warhol movie, I think. Was it Andy? It was Andy Warhol. He did a movie where it was a guy sleeping for 8 hours. It was in real time, and for like 30 minutes he zoomed in on a doorknob or something like that. So that's a fairly characterless movie, I guess. It's got a dude sleeping, but that dude's not doing much. And you're not really relating to a dude sleeping, I don't think. I wouldn't. Maybe I would. Depends on how he sleeps. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. It's hard to say. So, no. Every movie, every story, everything is, even if it's a story about an animal. Like Benji. There's a dog out in the woods, man. They gave him human characteristics, He's courageous or boring as fuck. That kind of stuff. So, that's good. It's not good. It's just what it is. It's part of the curse or the gift that we're given, as we see everything as us. And I'm using the royal we. I see everything as us. I see everything as us. I'm looking out at trees right now in the dawning sunlight, and birds are chirping out there, and I'm seeing this as human stuff happening. Like these trees are towering over me, like they have this malicious sort of ominous feel to them. And the birds, they're not chirping, they're singing. Those birds are singing. They're celebrating the daytime, and the sun is rising. The sun is waking up. The sun is waking everything up right now, and none of that's happening. None of that is happening. It's only how I'm perceiving it as happening. Alright? It's not what is going on. So what is happening is largely shaped by my perception and my history and my past and my understanding and the stories that I've been told and the stories that I've told about myself, And so that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm looking out there and I'm seeing that stuff. And none of these things I'm seeing grass, and I'm thinking the grass is out there growing. The grass isn't growing. The grass doesn't have a concept of growing. The grass is just being grass. It's so stupid and weird, but it's our everything. So this is the story of Face Off is filled with characters. There's a pile of them, a whole chunky pile, and I'm more interested in characters ranging from the top build all the way down to walk on, but not so much extra. That's a lot. There's a lot of extras in this movie, actually. There's a ton of people just wandering around doing stuff, and that's cool, but I don't give a fuck about those people, because that's the whole thing, is if you're looking on a, if I'm looking at a TV screen and there's one person on that TV screen, I'm laser focused on that person. If there's two people, it splits up my focus. If there's three people, it splits it up even more. Somebody's got to be real dynamic, you know. If it gets to 6, 8, 10, 12 people, you got to be a real badass to capture my attention from all those other people. If it gets to be a crowd of 100 people, then you're like specifically looking for that one person. Like at the end of Dark Man, when Dark Man, it's like Liam Neeson is the Dark Man, and his face is gone, and so he changes faces, and at the end he soaks. No, he sink. No, he doesn't sink. He what is the word? He goes into a crowd. You know, he dissolves. He dissolves. He goes into a crowd, and he loses himself in the crowd, or he loses whoever's chasing him in the crowd. Was somebody chasing Darkman at the end of Darkman? That's weird. Anyway, he goes into the crowd, and he finds his way into anonymity, and he turns around for the first time, he turns around in the crowd, and you see he's got a new face on, and it's Bruce Campbell, I think. It's Bruce Campbell from the Army of Darkness and Evil Dead movies and Spider-Man movies and Bubba Hotep movie. You know Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell's the man. A real interesting guy. A real good dude, it seems like, who had a whole arc in his own life. A whole growth arc. He had a growth arc? Ew, that sounded weird. He had a growth arc in his own life where he was saddled with this character of Ash that everybody identified with, and he hated the character, and then he grew into it, you know, grew up. He became he became a man. He did a human thing, you know. He's a cool guy. I don't know. Maybe he's not. He is. I don't know. He's cool. He seems cool to me. I don't know. It seems kind of goofy, but what do you think? I crashed on a bicycle and got all messed up. So for the one person, 7 sometimes people. I think maybe those are me. Like I just accidentally click on my own video podcast and watch the entire thing. You know how that can accidentally happen sometimes. But if you're watching, I have some facial deconstruction going on here. If you're wondering, I have some scratches on the lenses of my glasses. They're not so bad anymore. Maybe I'm just not noticing them. They're pretty bad still. Crashed on a bicycle. Feeling better though. It was a few days ago. Right, so characters. We're talking about characters. I do want to acknowledge episode 7 that will live in infamy as the worst thing that has ever happened. We'll remember episode 7 forever as the bunk, the fiercely bunk episode. Man, it was not cool. It was funky. It was a weird one. I felt like I slipped into depression during that episode. Like I went into it with real high hopes. I thought it was going to be good, but it turned not good. That happens sometimes. I don't like it. I don't like it when that happens, but the fact that I don't like it, it means that is something that I should work with. You know, I should look forward to when that comes up and be able to work on it. You know, that's how we should look at those things we don't like to deal with. Okay, that's how I should look at those things that I don't like to deal with. Is when they come up, I should look at it as an opportunity to be present and to work on a thing that can be a stopping point for me in times. And so that's a stopping point for me sometimes. When I expect something to go good and it starts not going good, I want to not make it go good on purpose. I want to crash it into the mountain. So Yeah, actually had a moment like that. I was doing a stand-up show this weekend and did about 12 minutes of suicide jokes, and they went over pretty well. And at that point, I could have just pulled up and done some fun jokes and got out of there real good. But I decided to do 3 or 4 more minutes of suicide jokes instead. And that last bit did not go well. Didn't go great. Maybe they're just bad jokes, but maybe it's just too much suicide out there. I like to talk about suicide all the time. You know what they say is that the people who talk about it are the ones who don't really do it. It's always a surprise when Robin Williams kills himself, or Chris Cornell kills himself, or it's like, oh my god, they never gave a clue. That's because they were boiling inside. They never fucking talked about it to anybody. If you talk about it all the time, constantly, you know, it's less likely that you will do it, because you got a vent for it. You know, I feel like, honest, if I'm being honest about it, I think the only way to help somebody who is suicidal is to let them know that it is absolutely okay. It's their choice. It's 100% their choice, and be radically accepting of their choice. You know. And I think that a lot of people, when confronted with that idea, that it brings a bit of power back to the situation, you know? They're able to see that they do have a choice, even if it's a hard choice, you know? And that it is their choice, and that nobody else can make it. And that is my suicide soapbox for the day. That could be a good column? No, that could be a good segment on this here podcast, the Suicide Soapbox. I just ramble about suicide for several minutes. If you're feeling suicidal out there and you don't want to do it, there's a distinction. Some people do want to, you know, in a really weird, twisted kind of way. You really want to. I mean, I don't know if that's a distinction that anybody notices, but I don't want to, but I think about it all the time, like to a ridiculous degree, to where it's just like this weird, shitty record in the back of my head playing almost all the time. And so I've found recently, in the last 6-7 months, and further back, but way more recently, I've been actually speaking about it. I used to write about it all the time, but I've actually been speaking about it, you know, and putting it out there into the world and kind of spreading it out, and it really makes people uncomfortable, but that's alright, because it's in my head all the time. So my advice is, if you're feeling suicidal, go talk to everybody about it. Go make people uncomfortable. Get them all shook up. Shake them up. Because sometimes that's what that person needs. That's an extreme personality that feels suicidal, you know. And sometimes they need to see other people get shooken up a little bit. You know, they look around and they see this dull, kind of endless, you can't see around the corner, you know. There's no end to this monotony, this just anguish and pain, you know. It's like everything is horrible, but horrible on this just flatline, dull level, you know. And sometimes what can change that dullness is to shake other people up, to go make them uncomfortable around you, you know. go make them think, oh no, you know, Joe might jump off a bridge. Maybe I should call the police on him, or maybe I should buy him a chocolate croissant and, you know, not let him, you know, take him out of school and push him in the river or something. I don't know how it works. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Alright, let's Okay, Suicide Soapbox is officially over. We're going back to character development today, boy. And there's some doozies in this movies. Doozies in this movies. Moosies. A mosey. I'm thinking this is a two-part episode because the characters are played by actors. So we're going to look at the characters today, and we'll look at the actors who play those characters next week. So these two episodes will correlate. Either that, or if this episode goes bad, if this one gets really shitty really quick, or really shitty really slowly, and I burn the idea, then we won't do that. We'll do something different, because this podcast is about doing something different, even when the same thing will do. Yeah. Alright, let's get into this. First, yes. We're going in order of appearance. I think Netflix is probably getting a little bit... There's a weird spike on their algorithm. Because nobody's watching Netflix. People are watching Netflix. Nobody's watching Face Off. It's not like one of their most popular movies. Maybe it is, but there's a weird Monday night or Tuesday morning spike of one dude has Face Off, and it's nothing interesting until like 6 months down the road when it's like a heartbeat on a weird algorithm somewhere, and they're like, oh well, Face Off is popular in one house in Washington. Look at this guy go. And then the FBI will triangulate. The FBI. I bet Netflix helps out law enforcement. Do you remember Seven? They talked about the libraries, looking at people's library cards. They were so secretive about it. They're like, you can't tell anybody about this, but we can look at people's library histories. Their library histories for books they... And he's like, oh my god, are you serious? This is crazy. What an invasion of privacy. What a crazy world we live in now. If somebody looks at your library card, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Go look at my empty library card that I never ever check physical books out with. Dummies. What? Stupid idiots. You're not going to find anything. Oh, man. And now it's like, oh, yeah, you checked all my emails and phone calls and all that stuff. That's whatever. We'll just not even bring that up again. That's fine. We're fine with it. No biggie. Just don't check my library card, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch bastard. Target. Also, Target helps out. Target has a forensics lab. And they help out in big crime investigations, FBI and stuff like that. Target, the store. They're so stupid. Target is such a weird cult, man. If you haven't ever done it, you should go get a job at Target just to see what it's like to be inducted into a cult, because that shit is fucking bizarre. Real strange, man. I worked at Target. That's what I'm saying. Khaki pants and red shirt, bitch. That's what I'm talking about. It was awful. Ooh, I hated it. I felt like I was gonna die. Every Saturday I got told that I needed smile practice by an adult in a group of other adults. Not that I needed it, but that we all needed it as a group. That we should practice hashtag being a good human. That would help us out at Target. Holy fuck, man, what a nightmare. Oh, Jesus Christ, I had so many anxiety attacks in that place. It's such a garbage shithole. But they would leave peanut butter and jelly and bread in the break room that you could just eat. So it was like, you could have that for lunch if you want. I had a lot of peanut butter and jelly and bread, man, while I was there. That was pretty... So it's like those little teeny tokens. That it's like, oh, well, that's fine. That's cool. So in this cult, I'll have access to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches whenever I want. That is a positive. and it's going to highly outweigh all of these other negatives. And there's so many of them. What a shithole. I hate Target so much, and if you shop there, you're a Nazi. It's probably not like that. It's not a Nazi. It's a different thing. It's like a really accepting vibe, except for if you're like not happy. They don't like you if you're not happy. They're like, you're gonna bring down the, I think it was called the vibe. They had a thing of the stores, this general vibe of the store. It was like their company jargon or whatever. You can bring down this particular store's vibe. Oh, gross. What a disgusting place. Eugh. So nasty. They do have some interesting deals, though. Just some weird stuff in there. I don't know. All those department stores have their own personality. I went into a Shopco not too long ago, and it was like, what the fuck is this? This is a nightmare. This place closed down 20 years ago. They just didn't tell anybody. Same with Kmart kind of has it feel. Maybe that's just the Spokane Shopco and Spokane Kmart, you know, but they don't have a feel like a... Yeah, those stores are gross, huh? Even Walmart. Walmart is king shit, I guess. Fred Meyer is pretty good. Fred Meyer's got a kind of... I'm partial to Fred Meyer because it's part of the Kroger company or whatever, and it sort of resembles a Fry's, which is what they had in Arizona, and I liked Fry's. Fry's is a nice grocery store. I like that Fry's. I like the Fry's in Yuma. They had everything I wanted, pretty much, there. Either that, or I just whittled down my wants to what was there. That's a way to do it, you know. Let's get onto these characters, man. Let's get onto these characters. Let's get into Face Off. Top build, John Travolta. First name that comes up, Johnny T. And John Travolta plays the bad guy. Now this is a weird thing. I guess maybe it was his seniority at the time, you know, because Nicolas Cage is actually plays the good guy. That was one of the reasons why he took the movie. He didn't want to play the bad guy, but then read the script and realized, oh, I'm actually playing the good guy the whole time. It's just, there's a little switch. There's a little switcheroo at the beginning, you know? That's a weird... Nicolas Cage is a weird dude, alright? He, actually, I read in a thing, what was that, on IMDb, those, the trivia or whatever, that he requested during the scene where his face was off, where he's walking around with his face off. His face was ripped off, and he's, like, threatening the surgeon or whatever. No mirrors. No mirrors on set, because he didn't want to see the gross makeup. It was too scary. He was 35 or 34 years old at the time. He was a grown-ass man that's like, I don't want to see that scary makeup. You're sitting in a chair for 10 hours, you get makeup put on your face. You're like, no, I don't want to see it because it's too scary. It's going to give me nightmares. He also did some weird, like, voodoo shit for Ghost Rider and stuff. He gets into it, man. You gotta give it up for him. I mean, I don't know, it's not good most of the time. I guess there's, like, adaptation. How do you say that? Adaptation? Adaptation where he played two brothers. That was pretty good. He was pretty good in that. I like that David Lynch movie that he was in. I don't remember what it was called. He's like he wasn't a vampire. That doesn't make sense. Maybe he was. I don't know. This gets mixed up. God, what was that movie called? He had a weird jacket and shit. I really liked his jacket. He was kind of Elvis-y and stuff. Kind of Elvis-y in all of his movies. I didn't like that one where Russell Brand played God. I don't remember what that one was called. Army of One or something. That one was dumb. He had a weird character in that one. God, was another Con Air? That was a stupid one too. Holy shit. I think Nicolas Cage is usually good if he's got someone to bounce off of, you know? Someone decent to bounce off of. But other than that, just stupid. Man, I know there was another one that I really liked of his, but I can't think of it. We can just agree. Like John Travolta, for the most part, he just sucks. He's got a couple of good things. So you sort of, it's like the peanut butter and jelly at Target. You get a good, like, Leaving Las Vegas or Pulp Fiction, and it overshadows all the other fucking garbage for 20 years. You know, you're like, okay, I'll buy into this. I'll watch every Nicolas Cage movie because of that one time that he did real nice. You know? And I'll watch every John Travolta movie because of that one time that Vincent Vega stole our hearts. So I went off on Nicolas Cage there, but Mickey Archer actually appears. Mikey Archer actually appears first in this movie, moments before Sean Archer, John Travolta, and he has a few happy moments with his papa before he's immediately shot in the chest and killed. And I thought it was in the head. Because physically it would seem that way. But because Archer basically had shot right in the back, should have been an exit wound out of the chest, and that's where a kid's face would be. But on the computer in Archer's office, in Mikey's file, it says he was shot in the chest. Alright, so that's what happened. He got shot in the chest. He becomes the motivation for Sean Archer's revenge for the whole movie. He basically becomes a ghost. You know, he's the ghost that haunts this movie. He's the reason for this movie, and he's there in every single scene. And then he almost physically returns as Adam. Adam. I don't know if we'd call him Adam Troy, but that's a dumb name. But Castor Troy's son. He basically returns, same age as Mikey when he died. It looks like the same fucking actor, basically. I have this theory that Castor Troy killed Mikey on accident, alright, and left Sean Archer alive, and then in some sort of weird twist, like a Greek tragedy or something like that, some sort of crazy Shakespearean fucking play or whatever, he then went that day and impregnated Sasha, Gina Gershon, and Adam was born later. So Mikey died on the same day Adam was born, and then 6 years later, Sean Archer runs into Adam with Castor Troy's face. That sounds very, like, epic, like some sort of crazy, fable or something like that. Some sort of... But the whole thing is, it's not laid out. It's like we aren't smart enough to take in all those weird lines. It's just, all that shit is sort of hidden in the background. I feel like I'm going to rewrite Face Off and put all the weird implications in there, so that we can get confused, and it can be crazy, and we can be like, oh my god, this is twisted, instead of being like, what the motherfuck is going on here? This movie is horrible. I just picked my nose. Just a little. It was okay. It's a natural thing. So we want to leave some of the confusion in there. We want to have some of those crazy lines, He has very little... Mikey, I want to call him Mickey. Mikey has very little screen time before he gets shot. I like to think of him as getting shot in the face. I prefer that. I prefer him getting shot in the face. But before he gets shot, he has very, very little screen time. And then by the end of the movie, the movie that has revolved around this kid who, without his death, LA may have been, bombed with a biological payload and nerve gas by... Sean Archer might not have cared. He might have been hanging out with his stupid kid. You know what I mean? So if Mikey hadn't died, LA would have probably got bombed by Castor Troy. Crazy. See, those are the scales that I want to see, the mechanism working, instead of having it just in the background, having to fucking study it to figure it out. So that's crazy. So one kid, you trade one kid? Oh, by the way, I thought that, oh yeah, the park too, the carousel, the merry-go-round of madness was in Griffith Park. I thought that's where it was because I researched it, but the carousels looked different. But that's what it says on the computer. That's what we're going with. Griffith Park Carousel. So I don't know if that's a place. I think there's a carousel in Griffith Park, but I don't think it looks like the one in the movie. So maybe they just had a different location or something. You know, the one in the park that I looked up online, I'm pretty sure was right. It's really ornate and cool looking. The one in the movie is dumb. It's stupid looking. I hate it. I hate that merry-go-round of madness. Let's not go back to the bomb yet. We'll get to the bomb in a bit. Sean Archer is the second one to show up. We know Sean Archer. We have talked ad nauseum about Sean Archer, so not much to it. Not much to him. He's got some seriously hairy knuckles. He's a dork. He's reckless. He's pretty reckless, but he's also a dork. He's also not reckless. Like, he's reckless. I want to say he's reckless light or something like that. I don't know. He's not. He's a dork, man. That's all there is to it. He's wearing black jeans. Ugh. And they do this thing. Oh, God, it drives me crazy every time I see it because it's so disgusting. It reminds me of something that was probably John Travolta's idea because he is basically a giant bug wearing human skin for the first time and has never had a real, actual emotion in his life, and he's just pretending from watching people in the subway or something like that while he's fucking wearing somebody else's skin, some hobo skin or something like that. He's trying to recreate human facial features. My dream would be that this podcast blows up and like the last 2 episodes have Nicolas Cage and John Travolta as guests and they're just like, you fucking prick. I'm a real person, you bastard. Or even worse, they're like, you got me, and he just shreds his face off. He takes his face off on the Face Off podcast, and there's this disgusting, slimy bug underneath the face, just, and then we have a good conversation, and yeah, you know, that's what I'm looking for. That's what we're going for. So anyway, John Travolta, disgusting weirdo. I swear to God, and it has bled over. You know, you see, I just kind of scanned Swordfish the other day, and I remember that being a weird, I don't know, just, God, John Travolta with his, he's like, here's the hair of a terrorist. Swordfish could probably be the sequel to this movie where he ends up just murdering his family, because that was what was going to happen eventually, because he's a fucking weirdo, psychopath. He's going to end up murdering his family, or they get killed by somebody revenging Castor Troy, and he just turns and goes the other way. He becomes the terrorist that's blowing stuff up. Basically, that's what it seems like, is he wanted to be Castor Troy, you know, I mean, he was in this movie, but he wanted to do a whole movie. God, this was a whole movie where he was Castor Troy. So stupid. That movie was dumb too, but he just, this is the hair of a terrorist. I swear to God, he's just, what an idiot, man. I don't know why I'm ripping on him so bad. He's probably just a regular dude, but it's like one of those things where it's just, he tries to, it's like, this is what it looks like when you're happy, and this is sad. It's just dumb. I don't know. I hate him. I hate him in this movie. I hate him in just about everything. You know, I can't look at him the same. It's been tainted now. But those black jeans, man, the shirt tucked in, that is gross. Oh, that's what we were getting at, the touch. The awful hand thing. So in the very beginning of the movie, the few moments that Mikey Archer is on the screen, John Travolta does this thing where he rubs his hand down the, just like that, right down the face, and it happens over and over again. He does it to... Does he do it to Jamie? Jamie does it to Adam. Eve does it to Archer. Archer does it to Eve. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's a familial thing. And then there's another familial thing, I think, with Adam and Dietrich. Because Dietrich's his uncle. Yeah, his uncle. And they give a big wink, like, that sort of thing, like a conspiratorial thing. And that's what this face thing is like. It's me and you. It's us. It's this familial thing, and that shit is so gross. I think those little shitty things that families all do. It seems always like it's hiding something awful. You know what I mean? Like some awful secret. It's like we're all in this together. Ugh, let's do this gross thing to, like a secret handshake or something. Ugh, I hate it. It's nasty. Nasty. I don't know, it's probably not that nasty. I probably just had a fucked up childhood. So Castor Troy is the next character that comes up. He's got good grammar. He uses the me and I correctly as opposed to incorrectly, which is an odd... Okay, so the way that I've heard it put is that something used incorrectly enough becomes the correct usage. So a word used incorrectly enough, the incorrect usage becomes correct over time. That's how it works. That's how language works, because language is bullshit. We just made it up. We just made it up. There's maybe a ton of rules, but we just made it up. So the thing is when people say something like, oh God, when you try to say, like if you said Bill and I did this, that works, And there's there's confusion about the usage, because you can say Bill and me sometimes, and you'd never say I's, like Bill and I's car. That does not work. Bill and my car could work, I don't know. It drives me crazy because it all sounds wrong, but people overcompensate, and it's one of those internet things where it's just like your and your. I don't think there's 3 yours. I think there's only 2. But you know what I'm trying to say. One of those weird things that the internet has shed light on, kind of. And Castor Troy has proper usage. He's a good dude. That fucking mustache, man. That fucking mustache, son. That's got to be part of it. He grew the mustache out for the kill. He went home. He shaved the mustache off, and Sasha, Gina, Gershon was like, hell yeah, the mustache is gone, let's get busy. And they made that kid by doing sex to each other. Isn't that how it works? Oh, Castor Troy, he invites Sean to be a terrorist at the beginning of this movie, right before he gets almost killed after the shootout. He invites Sean to be a terrorist. He says, hey man, come with us. Let's go blow some shit up. It's a lot more fun. Let's do this thing. What a different movie. What a different movie it would have been. And in some ways, he kind of did. He kind of took him up on the offer. He went and he checked out the other side, man. He tried some drugs. He squeezed some butts. He shot some cops. He did some crazy shit. And he kind of seemed to like it, He's like, oh yeah. He escaped from prison. He beat some people up. And he dug it. He was like, fuck it. He did those drugs. He was like, oh hell yeah, boy, these are some shits right here. I'll tell you what. Alright, next person to pop up in this motherfucker is motherfucking unnamed FBI agent. No, I think he does have a name. I'm pretty sure his name's Buzz. And he shows up at the end, he gets unmasked by Archer, knocked out, and then he pretends to shoot him. I told him not to fuck with me, but he just basically pops up. He has like 3 lines, he pops up here and there, ton of the southern dildo, and all this shit, you know? He's a dummy. He is a dummy. He is a dumb idiot. But he's the next one that shows up. He just sort of is just like filler. Just, hey, I need a corn-fed white boy to fill out this scene. And they put him there with his shitty little haircut. And I hate him. Next to show up is Margaret Cho. And I do not know what her name is in this movie. I don't think it is ever mentioned. Alright? She has... Alright, if it wasn't for Jamie Archer, Margaret Cho would win the worst acting in this movie. The worst. She is very, very bad. I don't know what it is. They are overdubbing these lines or something, but just deadpan the whole time and just terrible delivery of these movies. And I know, maybe it was her first movie or something. Nervous. I don't know if it was. But it is bad. And I wrote Margaret Chow instead of Cho. I am a dick. Deadpan looks of hatred towards Archer when he dismisses her. It's just, and to Castor Archer when he's yelling at her, and even deadpan looks when she's happy with him. She's a hard bag of bricks. I don't know if that's a saying. She got kicks too. She kicks the shit out of Pollux. Kicks the shit out of him, and it's obviously a Mexican stuntman, but that's okay. We recognize the hair, so it works. You see that movie? What's that movie called? I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. That part where what's his name? I'm asking you, what's his name? Quick, answer me. It is almost like you are answering me, like you're out there having a dream or something, and it's sending the answers into my brain along these crazy lines of invisible electricity and stuff. But one of the Wayans brothers that starred in that movie, it wasn't Keenan Ivory Wayans, it wasn't Damon Wayans, maybe it wasn't a Wayans, maybe it was just a black dude, and I am racist. It could be, who knows. Shit, I swear it was one of them. Maybe this is one that I can't think of, one of the older boys. But he's the main guy. His mama shows up to help him fight, and when she fights, she's this obvious Mexican dude with a mustache and stuff. It's fucking hilarious. I don't know if that dude was Mexican. Again, probably racist. Alright, Tito's my man. Tito's a bad motherfucker. He's one of the dudes that talks Archer into going undercover as Castor Troy. He is a black dude named Tito. I just have to point that out. I think it's awesome. He gets burned to death. Shitty end for Tito, man. We meet him just days before his untimely death. His gruesome untimely death, you know? Damn, dude. He had to make some tough choices. He made some tough calls. He was regretting those calls when his ass got burnt to death. He had a pretty interesting run, you know? As far as it goes, his story must have been interesting as shit. But we didn't give a fuck. He's a black dude named Tito. Next character is Sinclair the Bomb. I'm counting Sinclair as a bomb. She has a female anthropomorphization going on. She's a cartoon character on a screen, you know? Named Sinclair, and this is a nerve gas bomb with a biological payout. It would be a tad worse than Gulf War Syndrome. Gulf War Syndrome. Don't we love the sound of that? Wasn't that the conceit of the biological weapon in The Rock? Starring Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. That's right, a Michael Bay movie. I don't know, you can check it out. That bomb has a 264-hour timer on it. That is the longest countdown in the history of movies. That might be a Guinness World Record right there. Unless you count like a volcano. hundreds of years, but that's not a technical countdown, I don't think. We don't know. We don't learn Sinclair's name till later on. Loomis is the next guy to show up, and this is played by Matt Ross. He's the one that gets his ear blown off. He is the guy who plays Gavin Belson in Silicon Valley. Excellent show if you're in need of an excellent show to watch and be stressed out about. But he's an interesting character. He pops up more than Buzz. He's got more lines than Buzz, and he does a lot more. He gets his ear blown off. He gets his ear reconstructed with the same technology he used to switch faces. He shows up with a fucking grenade launcher at one point and just starts launching. He gets shot in the head for a snide little shitty remark by Castor Troy. That guy's got some more action in this movie. The choir is the next one, and specifically the choir girl. The young choir girl. This is one of the first sort of whiffs of pedophilia in this movie. The butt squeeze of definitely young. Like probably 16, maybe younger than that. You know what I mean? So, and they weren't the target. The choir wasn't the target. The target was found out today. It was actually said loud and clear. I just never noticed it. 8 solid viewings in. Never noticed who the actual target of Sinclair was. Sinclair the bomb. The target was 3 Supreme Court judges that were planning to meet at the LA Convention Center. They're going to blow those guys to shit and melt everybody else's face. So that choir wasn't the target. But that young girl was the target of Castor Troy's wandering tongue and butt squeezing hands. The pervy little shitbag. So, yeah. So it was a young lady right there. Kim is the next character. She is the FBI secretary. She was shunned by Archer. Every time she showed up with news, he was like, "Fuck you! Your news isn't good. You got me champagne from the CIA. Fuck the CIA and fuck you," and all this shit. And then Castor as Archer was really into her. Squoze upon her butt also. It was more of a slap. It was really a grab. He likes those butts, man. He was a butt man for sure. At this point, Victor Lazaro is introduced over the phone. Victor Lazaro still holds my adoration as the best in this movie. Him and Loomis, Matt Ross. Him and Loomis. Loomis is lower, but I'm liking him more the more that I recognize him in different parts. Especially with that grenade launcher, man. He fucking loved that thing. He was rocking it. But Victor Lazaro is the dude. The old-timey captain. We've talked about him last week, but we get to meet him right now over the phone. He doesn't show up till later. And in fact, he doesn't talk over the phone. It's just Archer talking shit to him, telling me he's a fucking old fuddy-duddy that needs to do better about being a badass. Pollux Troy shows up next, and we are just piling on the characters. Look at that, just boom, 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 knocking them out. Whew! And Pollux Troy is also implied. Pollux paid for the plane. Pollux paid for the plane. Pollux paid for the purple plane. But I can't come up with anything. Yeah, it's implied that he's mean. Pollux is a mean guy. He hides behind a saucy facade. He hides behind a intellectual sort of facade of fragility, but he is a mean person. He's got punches, and he shoots, and he's ready to fuck up anybody at a moment's notice. And Winters finds that out post-haste when he throws a metal briefcase at her head with very little hesitation, even though she's waving a gun in his face hole. He's a pervy voyeur. He's like, it's definitely implied that he likes to watch his brother do some banging. See, there's another part in our weird Greek tragedy of Face Off is you can watch, as Pollux is there, watching as Castor Troy and Sasha conceive of Adam. He's just in the corner creeping out, or in the closet or something, you know, just being all disgusting. That's perfect. It fits in. He's a violence voyeur also. He gets all excited when somebody starts getting violent, you know. He likes that shit. He dies in a fall, which is good because he's a piece of shit. And he does this thing where he waves with his pinky like this. If you're not watching the video, shame on you for missing out on this beautiful act out. Or sometimes like this. Yeah, forget it. Waves with his pinky. He's got kind of a weird facade, but a fragile facade, but he's a nasty, mean, messy person underneath that. And also very smart. He's brilliant. He's got the brains, and he's supposedly refined. He likes to eat tongue sandwiches and tiramisu before anybody knew what tongue sandwiches and tiramisu were. You know, tongue sandwiches and tiramisu now, man. That shit was crazy back in '97, son. That was some coffee dessert. You're gonna put coffee on my dessert? Boy, you are crazy. And a tongue sandwich? I don't want to eat tongue. So we got a black henchman and a white henchman. The white dude is named Lars. The black dude remains unnamed. Lars has a cool scar. I'm going to find out who that fucking dude is because I've seen him before in movies. You got a cool scar like that, you're a henchman. In all the movies, you don't get to talk much. They don't even get paid. They didn't get paid at the beginning. That was rude. Winters is the FBI plant on the plane. She's the one that Castor asks her if she would be grateful if he let her suck his tongue, and then proceeds to stick his tongue out in the grossest of manners. It is a very gross tongue. It's just there. It's just sticking out of the face. A tongue is a weird thing, huh? Hey, we were just talking about a tongue sandwich. Ew. Castor Troy, her Pollux likes those tongue sandwiches too. Huh. Anyway, Nicolas Cage is a gross tongue is what I'm trying to say. She becomes more motivation for Archer. He's visibly shaken when she's shot and unceremoniously thrown from the plane. And she's a lust item for Castor Troy. So this is an interesting dynamic, is a thing will have a pull on both sides. So it will be this for Archer and this for Castor Troy. So like I don't know. There's other examples. Obviously Mikey's an example, but I can't think of how that works on the spot. It's a little bit more complicated dynamic. I guess you could look at it as Sean Archer 100% cared for Mikey, and Castor Troy 100% didn't. So dynamic. There's a dynamic, a pull and go. All right, next characters are Pincus, Janelli, Berkeley, Anderson, and Montgomery. They are the collateral damage of the airport shootout. Those guys get shot, and usually they have big wires attached to them, and they go flying off into the distance. Oh man, the wire work in that airport scene is so shit. There's scenes where John Travolta just floats like Peter Pan through the fucking air with his feet up in the air and stuff, like doodly doodly. It's such a dumb fuck. I hate it. There's a bunch of rando cops, I call them, all over the place. You gotta have cops to fill out a scene, man. There's a shitload of them in there. Next we see is Jamie Archer, the Archer progeny, and she's a hot mess, you know. Crazy 90s makeup. She's a teenager, and again, I buy her. She was in the runnings for the worst actor of the movie, but I buy her as Sean Archer's daughter. Sean Archer played by John Travolta, because she also looks like some sort of a weird bug in a human suit. Doesn't quite understand how it works. The very first scene that she's in, she storms off down the hallway, and I have no no idea what the direction was. I was like, why don't you run down that hallway like you're having a seizure and being shot with millions of paintballs at the same time? Because it is it is brutal. And that's not the only time. There's several times where her human actions are very strange. Very strange at best. Real crazy walk, man. Real crazy walk. And she listens to at least one old-ass song. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. Very conveniently, she listens to that song. I think there's only four songs in this movie, and they're all terrible. Alright? There's Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. There's the song that the credits roll to, which is it's something like Don't Lose Your Head. That's what it's, I think, called. I don't know who sings it, but it is awful. And it plays in Castor Archer's car when he's driving through his neighborhood. And then there's a song in Dietrich's apartment. It's kind of got this weird, like, I don't know, I want to say industrial vibe to it. I don't know, some kind of vibe to it. And then the awful motherfucking Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Very terrible stuff. Eve Archer. Eve Archer is the long-suffering, overqualified wife of Sean Archer and mother of Jamie Archer. And she just, every time she looks at either of them, her face is like, oh, good God. How to get into this? Why am I still involved in this in any way? Can we make this change? What? Oh dear Lord, it's your humble servant asking you, what did I do to deserve this shit? She's a motherfucking doctor, guys. She's a motherfucking doctor. She doesn't need to be dealing with this shit when she gets home, right? That's a tight like tangent in our Greek tragedy also, that she is a doctor. I like that. And okay, next people that show up. Oh, it's the special ops. It's the special ops lady. I don't think she gets named. They just say special ops wants to talk to you, and then this lady walks in, and she's the one who convinces Archer to go undercover as Castor Troy. And she is a strong black woman. I've seen her in a bunch of movies. I want to say her name is C.H. Pounder, but I could be wrong. Something like that, though. She goes unnamed. She is a sadist, though. Alright. Something to be said for somebody earning disdain. You know what I mean? So Castor Troy has definitely earned disdain. And so as he's laying there as a vegetable, quote unquote, he's quote unquote in a coma or something, unresponsive, you know. They think he's paraplegic, vegetable, whatever. She puts a cigarette out on his arm because he's a vegetable. Don't worry about it. That's a pretty sadistic thing to do. It's a pretty nasty thing to do. If you had a relative, you had a loved one who was in a coma and they were unresponsive, they were considered a vegetable, and somebody walked in and put a cigarette out on their arm, you'd be like, motherfucker. That would be a fist fight. You'd have to get into a fist fight over that. You'd be like, are you serious right now? That's a sadistic thing to do. That's a psycho. That should have been Sean Archer's first warning. In our Greek tragedy, that is his first warning, and he denies the warning. He denies that warning and goes forward to his detriment. to meet his nemesis, his would-be nemesis. All right, there's an interrogator. There's an unnamed interrogator. Oh no, wait. I think that was Buzz in there interrogating people. And whatever. It doesn't even fucking matter. Fuck Buzz, man. He's such a piece of shit. And this is when Victor shows up also for real. So Victor Lazaro shows up for real, and he's so good. He's so funny. Oh man, what a dumb. What a dumb. He doesn't know what he's doing in this movie. He knows what he's doing. That's the problem. He's like, I'm not gonna take any direction. I'm gonna do this my way. I'm gonna do it my way. Next is Malcolm. Oh wait. Yeah, okay. Next is Malcolm Walsh shows up next. He is he's the surgeon who does the face-off transplant. Just real basic. He's a real basic bitch. The only interesting thing about him is he's a special ops surgeon. Which is weird because he gets taken by henchmen. It seems like if you're a special ops surgeon, you would be trained or something. I don't know, maybe. Like how you think a military surgeon are trained in shooting guns, maybe? Who knows? He also gets burned to death with the unnamed special ops officer and Tito. Tied up together, burnt to death. There's a bunch of fucking nurses running around in that scene. There's a henchman who goes unnamed. He shits his pants during a particularly intense interrogation by Sean Archer. He is known as the Shitty Pants henchman. Not a very good henchman. Well, you know what? Pretty good. Alright? This is the subtext that we're talking about. And this guy's story could be pretty badass. Because he was so scared by Sean Archer's interrogation tactics. Which, this is back in the fucking day. This is before anybody was looking. This is before waterboard was in everybody's mouth, you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't know what was going on. Okay, so this is back in the day. This is pre-9/11, man. This is the good old days of serious interrogation, getting nasty with it and shit. So Sean Archer fucks this dude's mind up enough that he shits his pants. He's so scared that he shits his pants. But he doesn't say a fucking word. That's right. That's pimpish right there. That's some badass shit. You know what I'm saying? That's a good henchman. A good henchman, man. So that guy's got an interesting story probably. I got a little bit more respect for him right now. I put some respect on him. He's doing good, man. And then we get to meet Sasha, who is doing her best, man. Single mom. Trying to make it in the world. You know, and she gets threatened with the one thing that single moms you shouldn't threaten them with, man. And that is to take away her kid. And she takes that, she makes that's a grudge. She turns it into a grudge right there. And through the whole movie, she fucking hates Archer, even though she likes him. You know, she likes him in in that other body. I keep wanting to say they're in a different body. She likes him with a different face. That's what it is. Then we get to meet Dietrich. He's a real dick with bad grammar, but he's also kind of a pussy, man. He sort of gives up what he knows right away. Just got to put a gun in his eye. That's all it takes. But he's a total dick. He's a bully, I would say. Dietrich, he displays bullyish tendencies. That is, that he's big and brash and bullish as long as the tables aren't turned. And the moment that the tables turn, he folds like a motherfucking beach towel, baby. And that's real easy and real soft and real fluffy. Because he's a bitch-ass fancy pants. And I hate everything about him except for his apartment. Because he's got the coolest apartment. I think he's got a restaurant inside of his apartment. This is dope as hell, man. I like that place. Place is cool as shit. And we meet Adam for a minute. We just see the back of his head, which is sort of could be a visual callback to Mikey at the beginning when he's dead and, you know, Archer's giving him a hug. And in this case, it's Sasha holding Adam tight and protecting her offspring, you know? Protecting her offspring from Archer. How ironic. How ironic, right? He becomes a Mickey replacement. He is a fucking nerd, dude. Adam is a nerd. He's a gun grabber, too. He likes grabbing people's guns. I'm gonna grab your gun, and he's dumb, and I hate him because his music is over the fucking rainbow on some stupid, idiotic headphones that are yellow. That are probably worth $60 on eBay now. On a tangential note here, on a tangential note, I think it would be hilarious if somebody who is into deep fake, the face switching software, if somebody were to take and do Face Off, but switch it so John Travolta's face was on Nicolas Cage's body, and Nicolas Cage's face was on John Travolta's body the whole time. And so when they switched, I don't know how it would work. It makes my head hurt. So at the beginning of the movie, it would be John Travolta hanging out with Mikey, but he would have Nicolas Cage's face. And then, so stupid. I don't know how it would work. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Somebody should try that. I think it would be great. I'm putting it out in the ether right now. I don't have deep fake technology, or else I would I would definitely fucking make it happen. Alright, let's get through some of this shit here. We meet the main guard. His name is Mr. Walton at Erewhon Prison. He's a sadist also. He likes to pit prisoners against each other in fights, and make them fight until he says they can stop. He has a god complex because he is the dude at the thing. At this point, so Archer becomes Castor, and then when he enters Erewhon Prison, Archer as Castor becomes 621, prisoner 621, so he becomes a number, and then in the mess hall, that number becomes, I'm Castor Troy. He owns it. He's like, I'm not 621, I'm Castor Troy. He's owning two things. I'm not Archer, and I'm not 621. I'm motherfucking Castor Troy right there. So he's making a lot of changes. He's doing some fucking dumb shit, man. Alright, there's a bunch of rando prisoners, and they're all fucking nerds, too. At one point, they all go, ooh, and they do it in unison when when Castor Archer threatens another inmate. They all go, ooh, like, oh, no, did you hear what he just said? That's the stupidest thing, to see a whole room full of hardened criminals in the worst prison on earth. Amnesty International doesn't know it exists. The Geneva Convention doesn't count here. This place is a fucking nightmare. Ooh, did you hear what they said? It's like, oh boy, you see that? Fucking nerds. The next person that shows up is Burke Hicks. He's a dipshit stalker. He stalked the UN Secretary General. What a dork. Why would you pick the UN Secretary General to stalk? What a fucking idiot, man. And that's Tom Jane also. Way to go, Tom Jane. You dumb shit. I like Tom Jane. I don't know why I'm doing that. I think he's funny. He was in, he played himself in Arrested Development. And, what's her name? I think it was Lindsay thought he was a hobo. Because he was he was doing it for a role. Alright, Dubov shows up next. I think he might be French or mentally limited. No? Not mentally limited? I don't know. He might be fried beans, if you know what I'm saying. He's definitely fried beans later after he gets out of the electrical head shocker. Okay, the militia nut jobs get mentioned. I like those guys. They get a mention. They show up. Those fucking militia nut jobs show up in Pollux Troy's mouth. So we get to look inside the people that ordered the bomb. Next character to show up is Satan. That's right. The Dark Lord makes an appearance in the guise of a pentagram carved into the wall of the hole in Erewhon prison as Archer Troy. I'm getting my names mixed up here. As Sean Troy. Maybe that works. I don't know. Archer Troy sits down there in the hole, crying his little eyes out, smoking cigarettes for the first time in his life. There's a pentagram carved into the solid wall. I think that's a homage, obviously, to the overlord of Hollywood, Satan himself, the hooved demon god of celebrity. Okay, there's random bomb squad guys that show up. They do have a couple lines. And the next character that shows up after them, the plastic lobsters and plastic artichoke hearts. Third from the bottom on the list of worst actors in this movie are the plastic lobsters. Fourth from the bottom are the plastic artichoke hearts. They are not convincing at all. I don't buy it, even with the fake steam digitally added in. I do not buy it. Of course, first at the bottom and second at the bottom, fighting for those spots, Jamie Archer and Margaret Cho. Next to show up, the lobotomy doctor, who takes some sort of joy in electrocuting the shit out of prisoners. The sadist, another sadist. There's a lot of sadists in this prison. Nasty ways. He's more of like a precise sadist. And he gets his comeuppance. And you know how Sean Archer Troy, gets out of there? By burning someone's arm with a cigarette. That's part of the plan the whole time. And it worked out. 2 cigarette burns on the arm in this movie. What a bunch of shit. Does it really hurt that bad? We used to do this game back in the day. I only did it a couple of times, and I didn't care for it. But you would put your arm together with somebody else's arm like that, and light a cigarette, and put it in the crease there, and whoever pulled away first lost. People who let the whole thing burn and have this shitty little cigarette scar on their arm. God damn, kids are dumb, man. I was dumb as a kid. Still pretty dumb. Cheryl and Phil Roy make an appearance in the mouth of Dietrich. The mouth of Dietrich, and Cheryl is a fucking liar. That's what he says. She's a liar. Oh wait, I missed somebody. I missed the frowning girl patient. Another one of my favorite. Another one of my favorites. She's one of Eve Archer's patients in the hospital, and she's got something wrong with her, and she's frowning. She's really hamming it up, man. Chewing up the scenery, boy. Just keep an eye out for her. She's only there for a few minutes, but boy, she's not having a good time. Alright. In Dietrich's apartment, Castor's 2 favorite peaches. That's ladies with booties who like to suck tongues. Are there with the 2 lackey fuckboys. One of them is the one that shit his pants, and those guys are. And I'm taking it back. That guy's not a fuckboy. He's a hard motherfucker, But the other guy, total fuckboy. And they just kind of do. They're like not hard henchmen. They're like those soft henchmen that are somehow more middle management than the other henchmen. Those guys are the muscle. Lars and the unnamed black henchman. Okay, Archer loves those drugs. He gets some drugs and he's like, these are delicious. And that reminds me, this one's going to run a little long. That reminds me of, there was a story about a cop. It was a documentary about this police officer. I think it was in Texas. And he was really good at busting people for drugs. And one day he had weed in his house and he decided to smoke it. And he was like, oh shit, I've been doing the wrong thing this whole time. And so he stopped busting, he quit being a cop like that day. And then he started a company. It's a company that busts dirty cops. He sets up reverse sting operations for dirty cops. It's fucking hilarious, man. Because he'll set up like a fake grow op in a house, and then have it so that the police show up and they do it wrong. Like they enter the house wrong, and all this different shit. So it's like weeding out dirty cops and stuff like that. It's fucking cool, man. Look it up. I don't know what that dude's name is because I don't do research. You should know that by now. Next, so that was Archer. He's like, oh shit, this is great. Why haven't I been doing these drugs the whole time? Next is Carl, the rapist. Does that make me think of that Butthole Surfers song, Pepper? Or it's like somebody was a rapist in that song, and they're all in love with dying. They're doing it in Texas. The ever-present rapist. They're all in love with dying. They're doing it in Texas. Is that how it goes? I don't know. It's a good song. I like that song. I like that. I don't mind the dude. I don't know how it goes. I'm not singing songs, right? I don't fucking sing songs. Carl, the ever-present rapist in his fucking Corvette, gets kicked in the balls. I thought there was 3 ball kicks in this movie. There are 4. Sasha kicks a SWAT team member in the balls. Now you might say, 4 kicks in the balls? That's not very much for a movie that's 2 hours long, but that is 1 ball kick every half an hour. That's a lot of ball kicks, man. I mean, that's like an America's Funniest Home Videos episode, that's high in the ranking. I mean, I don't think ball kicks show up quite that much, but in this movie, a lot of ball kicks, man, and they're hard too. They're rough ball kicks. No softies in these motherfuckers. There's a bunch of rando SWAT team fodder just to get shot and thrown out windows and fucking punched in the face and kicked in the balls and hit with guns. Man, I would hate to be hit with a gun. Hit with the butt of a gun? Fuck. Especially those big ass, like, whatever those are, those 44s, Desert Eagles or whatever that Castor Troy has, the gold ones. You get hit with those? Damn, dude, that would fucking hurt. Any gun. Little teeny revolver. Just get whacked in the melon with one of those? Boy, oh boy. That would suck. I would hate that a lot. Alright, we already did that. I like that, though. So, we already did the awful. Yep, that was awful. Okay. And then Eve. This guy is one of my favorites, too. He's in the running, also. So we've got Loomis and obviously Victor Lazaro as my 2 favorites so far. This guy is definitely a third, possibly upon future watchings he will move up to first place. And it is when Eve Archer. What happens to Eve Archer? She has a run-in with Sean Archer, but in Castor Troy's body, so she doesn't understand what's going on. And so they have people to protect her. They bring cops in to look over, to watch. You know how that works? Lookouts and stuff, surveillance or whatever. And so she's talking to Nicolas Cage upstairs, and he's trying to convince her and stuff. And they cut away to the police officer that is patrolling the house, and he's this dude, and he's just literally walking through the living room, and nothing happens. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't look anywhere. He just takes a couple of steps, and then they cut back. It's like literally like 2 seconds just to say this guy's here, and then back, and his whole demeanor is just like, what am I even doing here? And when you're watching it and it happens, you're like, what the hell is that guy doing there? It doesn't. Why is he there? It doesn't even matter. And it's like he's thinking the same thing. Why am I here? This doesn't even matter. Like, not just as a character, but as an actor too. Where he's like, why am I here? This doesn't even matter. And it's just like this perfect thought that just echoes throughout time. Everybody that watches that movie at least has one moment of, why is he there? He doesn't even matter. And then, why am I here? I don't even matter. And it just it's this connective thread. It's beautiful. So I like that guy. He is fucking totally oblivious of what's going. And also, obviously, they're talking, they're yelling, he's punching glass, there's crying, there's all this shit going on like 20 feet away from him, and he's just oblivious, just like, what am I doing here? It's fucking great. I love that guy. He could be my favorite already. Ooh, that was nasty. Sorry about that. These are just gross noises. Alright, so somebody makes an appearance in a story. Oh, we're getting into weird stuff now. Somebody makes an appearance just in a story, and this is a story that Sean Troy is trying to tell Eve to convince her that he is actually Archer. And the story is about her breaking her tooth on a rice seed on their first date. And then they go and try to find an all-night dentist. That's right, a dentist that practices all night long. And the one that they find is so drunk that he fixes the wrong tooth. Alright, this is what happens in the story. So, a drunk all-night dentist. So this reminded me of a book called America. I think it was called America with a K by Franz Kafka. And it's a book about a guy making his way through America from, I'm pretty sure from Ellis Island in the, I don't know, like 40s or 50s or some other time besides this time, so it's all smashed together and I don't give a fuck. But the interesting part about it was it's very much like a road story, so it goes from town to town, from job to job, all these different places, states and stuff like that, cities and everything. And but the interesting part to me about it is that that Kafka never left. Shit. I want to say Germany. Franz, you from Germany? Where are you from, Franz? I want to say Germany. He never left his home country. And so he was working off of maps and stuff and just imagination. And so there's very odd things, like the Statue of Liberty doesn't have a lantern, she has a sword. And he gets a job in this weird traveling, it's like a circus, but it's like crazy huge and just totally bizarre. Like there's all these different troops and stuff like that. I think he becomes like a horn player or something. And they qualify you for it. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and the way that the motels work and stuff is really odd. So it's all this really bizarre stuff, and that's what this made me think about. Is somebody thinking of America, like, oh, they would go see the all-night dentist, and if you were an all-night dentist, you would probably be drunk. Because what else would you do? This is a perfect Greek tragedy character, that fits in with it. Like, oh god, we have to go to the witch doctor now to fix your tooth. We're gonna have to dip our toes in the seedy side of the world because we tried too hard to be in love. Now we're fucked. Oh, good Christ. Alright. Another patient of Eve's. This is a dude with his face ripped off. Half of his it's so gross. Half of his face is gone. He's just laying there under a towel. It's the dumbest thing. Alright, keep an eye out for that guy. And the crazy gun shows up. Crazy gun that I'm sort of weirdly obsessed with. It's it just looks like a regular gun, but it shoots really fast. I don't know how that even would work. And we're down to the last characters that show up. And the last characters that show up are the ridiculous stuntmen that stand in for for John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. I wanted to call him Castor Troy. They stand in for, okay, so this is in these guys, I don't know if they're the same dudes, alright, because there's the scene where they're hanging off the side of the boat, they're fighting on the boat. This is in the boat chase scene, obviously. And those guys are badasses, alright? And if they're the same guy, I mean, these are probably the same dudes, right? So, those guys are cool. That's crazy, man, to go water skiing with no skis and everything. There's some manic fucking badass stunts right there. But then the boat crashes, and there's a spot where you can see, okay, if you want to check it out, you can see their faces. It's from 2 hours and 7 minutes, 46 seconds in, to about 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 53 seconds in. So you got a little window there. About 7 seconds. But the stuntmen, they look kind of like Steve Renazizi and Christopher Walken. So if you pick, that's so stupid. They don't look at all like, they didn't hide it at the least. I kind of like it, but also kind of hate it. Steve Renazizi and Christopher Walken. I posit the theory that this movie would have been far more entertaining with Steve Renazizi and Christopher Walken as the lead. In fact, in the Greek tragedy that I'm going to write after this podcast kills me is going to star Steve Renazizi and Christopher Walken, and it's going to have John Travolta and Nicolas Cage as their stunt doubles. And there's going to be some significance to the weight of it. You know what I mean? Their mirror selves, their dark selves, their what do you call it? Their shadow selves. Let's say it there. Their shadow selves that show up in the. That's the good. So 2 hours, 7 minutes, 46 seconds. Beautiful little shot there. This is funny. The stuntman thing reminded me of Dukes of Hazzard, the much maligned Broken Lizard reboot with Willie Nelson and all the... Who's that guy? Jessica Simpson. That's not a guy. She was in it. And homeboy Johnny Knoxville, I think, was in it. And Sean William Scott. Those dudes were all in it, right? But when it showed up, when word got out that they were making a Dukes of Hazzard movie, all the stuntmen in Hollywood were like, "We want to get in on this shit," because they were going to crash cars. You know, it's going to be badass. So they have all these. So they hired all these stuntmen, and there's a couple of scenes where there's like a bar fight or something like that, you know, and so they have all the stuntmen in there fighting, and it's all the stuntmen for like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme and all these different so it's this bar full of all these guys as stuntmen, so they look vaguely like them, you know. It's really bizarre stuff. It's weird that you would hire somebody to be your stunt double. You're like, you're me when I'm doing crazy stuff, or you're stand-in. This person's my stand-in. That's an insane amount of stand-in in movies. If you don't see somebody's face in a movie, it's not them. I actually got an email that I missed for to be a hand model in that zombie movie or that zombie show that they film here. Is it Z Nation? Yeah, it was gonna be a hand fill-in, but I didn't check the email in time. So it's going to be somebody's hand. That would have probably been good. I could have probably made a career out of being some dude's hand if I would have just showed up. Been good. But yeah, if you're watching a movie and you see the back of somebody's head, you see anything but their face, that's not them. That's some other dude who has hands that look sort of like theirs. So that reminded me also of the people that do the foreign voice tracks. So like the Mexican voice actors that do the overdubs for for the tracks on DVDs and stuff like that. They all have people that do that. So like, if Brad Pitt's in a movie, there's a dude that does his voice in Mexico or in France. So there's like a vocal Brad Pitt. It's so weird, the people that they choose sometimes. Like Alf. I was watching Alf, and I was watching Mexican Alf for some reason, and they gave that guy, man, who... Because Alf had kind of a sort of an abrasive voice, I guess, but the dude that they picked in Mexico sounded like a death metal singer, man. It is fucking hilarious. I love it. Alf is way more funny in Spanish. That shit is hilarious in Spanish, man. And they gave Willie the goofiest voice, too. Willie had a pretty goofy voice to begin with. Willie had a really weird acting style. He was very, like, he had like a character thing going on, you know? He was very nervous, like, all the time. And he had this, kind of Alf thing. Alf's the next podcast. I'm just warning you guys, you guy, you one human. I'm just warning you that the Alf podcast is coming after Face Off, because we're absolutely not going to find the meaning of life in Face Off. I'm just going to write a really stupid Greek tragedy about it, and it's going to be, you know, one of those successful failures that work out so good. So this is so okay. Here we go. From this episode, I think we could take that it takes an astounding amount of characters to tell a story. So, you know, even if the circumstances are extraordinary, we need a lot of them. And we'll put our, I don't know. It was probably better up front there. That I was just like seeing out the window. You probably hear those birds too, because I have the door open a little bit. Computer's off, the door's open a little bit. But you know, just check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I feel like I just wrecked myself by saying that. Check yourself from time to time, and see how much human characteristic you're projecting onto things, just like buildings and trees and dirt and other people. Man, and other people too. Holy fuck. It's crazy that some other person have this personality, this completely different body, this totally different life, and they can walk up to you and you can be like, you are a judgmental prick. And the and the only reason you have for that is because, okay, I can walk up to somebody and say, you, in my head, I'll be like, you are a judgmental prick. And the only justification I have for that is that I am a judgmental prick. And I want you to be part of it so I don't feel so alone. You know what I mean? Or like, yeah, so that's projecting just the personality onto somebody. I do that with my dogs all the time. My dogs have personalities. Like my pug is kind of a G'd up, not G'd up thug, but like a I don't know what, man, I don't know how to put it. She's like she's got it together. She's not really that interested in me, but sometimes she is, and when she is, she's interested, but only in the sense that I should celebrate her interest. Like I should pay tribute to the fact that she's interested in what I'm doing. In the special times when she gives a shit. Other than that, she's just kind of like, why don't you leave me alone? You are annoying me right now. And the other one, the greyhound, he is, completely brainless. He's a completely brainless idiot. Man, there's nothing back there. Just running and forgetting how to eat. And I'm sure there's some projection in that. I'm sure he's more than that. But I project my simplicity onto him. Alright, man. This one went better. I'm feeling better about this. We will mention the infamy. We will mention the infamy of episode number 7 often. We will celebrate those missteps in our life. We will not glorify them, but we will celebrate and understand them. And strive towards acceptance and integration. Acceptance and integration, my friend. Alright, man. Thanks for hanging out. This has been fun. This is a good time. I'm actually feeling less depressed than when I started this episode, which is how it should go. And so thanks for hanging out. This is a long one. It's a lot of fun. Hit me up, social media, if you want to. I got a comment from another buddy, old Setharoo, Setharooney, the big dog up in Colville, Washington. Fucking backwoods, man. Yeah, good comment. So you like the probably that was on a YouTube video too. That is weird, man. Get a comment on a YouTube video. That's like a ghost town over there on YouTube. Over there on YouTube, man. That's good stuff. It's like a letter just floating into a ghost town. A dusty old letter floating into a ghost town. But yeah, thanks for commenting. That's cool. It's nice to see. Thanks for watching the videos. That's a little unnerving because of everything that's happened here today. It's a little bit weird, but thanks for doing it. Thanks for commenting. And if you got questions or requests or anything, then let me know. Let me know on Facebook's pretty good, but I'm fairly egotistical. I pretty much check everything, like every single social media outlet and comment section every like 20 or 30 minutes every single day. So you can get a hold of me pretty easy on there. If you actually just made a video on a random account and just put my name in the title of the video, I'd probably find it within a day or two. Within a day or two. If it was up on YouTube, I'd be like, oh, somebody's trying to speak to me. I'm looking for the answers on the internet, and it's not working. This place is a madhouse. It's a madhouse, I tell you. Alright, that was Bridge Too Far. Thanks to Seth for listening. Thanks to Big Old Bob for if he's still around. He probably got a whiff of episode 7 and hit the dust. Hit the dirt. Thanks to everybody else. Thanks to all you guys. Thanks to the millions of slavering fans in the future that are looking back at this archive of a holographic creature doing something dumb. Alright. We're good. Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm still trying to come up with a catchphrase, and I'm doing it spontaneously. It's not working. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great every day of the rest of your life. From now into perpetuity. Later.